All right, hey gang, we are actually going to start to look at the Chapter 2 test, the practice test here. Please do not try to do this with me. I want you to do it and then come back and we'll take a look at what you've done and hopefully you've done a lot of these problems correctly. So looking for a good Chapter 2 test after a lot of you had a good Chapter 1 test. So here we go. Let's take a look. I'm going to go through this quick. I don't want to take a lot of time, so hopefully all this makes a lot of sense. Translate the following sentence into an equation. A number x subtracted from 36 is 3 times the sum of 4 and x. Okay, so again, a number x is subtracted from 36. So if I do 36 minus a number, okay, that's the number has been subtracted from 36, remember, is equals 3 times the sum of 4 and x. So 3 times the sum of 4 and x. Now usually we do x plus 4. You can do 4 plus x. It really doesn't matter there. Okay. The next one, number 3, I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. In subtracting 12, I know r is equal to -9. If I do 12 plus -9, I get 3. I can check it by plugging it back in. This one, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I know that's kind of small there. Maybe I can zoom in a bit more. Whoop. Without getting too much there. Get that updated. Oh, that looks better. Okay, add 7 to both sides. If I do that, -12 plus 7 gives me -5. -5 minus 7 is -12. This next one, I'm going to divide by -7 to both sides. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so this is going to be a positive 5. -7 times 5, -35. Okay. Now the next one, I'm going to show you something that I actually learned when I was back your age taking Algebra 1. If I have this problem right here, we weren't allowed to use calculators back in the day. And so, yes, you can divide through by -5/8, okay? If you do that, dividing through by -5/8, you have -9 divided by, make sure you do parentheses, -5 divided by 8, okay? So it would look like this if you plugged it in your calculator. -9 divided by, do you see that? Ooh, moving over a bit. -9 divided by -5 divided by 8. -5, do parentheses here, sorry. -5 divided by 8, okay? So 14.4 is the answer, but let me show you something you could do here. If I were to go ahead and multiply both sides by 8, or even -8, to get rid of that negative, those guys are gone. Multiply this side by -8, you have 5w is equal to positive 72. And now you can divide through by 5. And so w would equal, 5 goes into 70 14 times, and you got 2/5 left over, or you could have 0.4, 14.4 as we saw before, okay? Again, I can plug that back in, double checking this. I can do -5/8, okay, times, and then 14.4. Well, you can do 14.4, just like that, -9, which is what we want. Or you could go ahead and do this, 14 and 2/5. See how I did that? 14 and 2/5. We still get -9, okay? So just trying to give you some options there. No, I'm going kind of quickly here. Cross multiplying here, you get 25p is equal to 9 times 125, 900... 1125, I think. 9 times 125, 1125. If we divide through by 25 to both sides, p is going to equal 4 to make 141. 1125 divided by 25. Oh, I was wrong. 45. Oh, it was, here's what I did in my mind. There we go, okay? So it was 45, okay? Again, I can plug this back in. 9 divided by 25 gives me 0.36. If I do 45 divided by 125 gives me 0.36 as well. You've got the same exact thing, okay? Here, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. Subtract 4. I'm going to divide through by negative 3. I end up with A equaling a positive 6. Now let's plug this back in. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18, plus 4 is negative 14. So again, make sure you're checking your work. These problems are too simple to not get correct on your test, okay? The next set of questions, raising this up just a smidge, it says this. Write the equation for each problem, then solve the equation. What number decreased by 3.5 is 12.7 or equals 12.7, okay? Well, if I add 3.5 to both sides, 16.2, I believe, is the answer for X. Now we can double check. 16.2 minus 3.5 gives us 12.7, okay? So what number decreased by 3.5? 16.2 decreased by 3.5 gives us 12.7. The next one, 12 is added to the product of a number and 5. Okay, so 12 is added to the product of a number and 5. I'm going to say the product of a number and 5, and we're adding 12. The result is negative 3. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you as I write that down. I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, gives me negative 15. And then I'm going to divide through by 5, and X will equal negative 3. Okay, now if I plug it in, this gives me negative 15 plus 12, again, answer is negative 3, okay? So hopefully that makes sense there. The next one, we're going to be evaluating this expression here. When I plug these in, remember you put parentheses around everything, so 4 parentheses negative 2 plus parentheses 5. Okay, so 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. And the absolute value of negative 3 is just positive 3. Okay? So we got our answer there, positive 3. When we do these type of problems, the absolute values, remember this value could be 6 inside this parentheses right here, or it could be negative 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 5t minus 1 is going to equal 6, or 5t minus 1 equals negative 6, okay? If I add 1 to both sides, 5t is going to equal 7. I get negative 5. If I divide through by 5, I get 1 2/5, or 1.4. If I divide through by 5, I get negative 1. And if I were to graph, actually, I'm going to say t is equal to the solution set of negative 1 and 1.4. Get that other answer there. So negative 1 graphed right there. And we end up having, what would be 1.4, almost 1.5. I'll put a dot right there. Okay, oops. There you go. Okay, negative 1 and 1.4. Now, as I look at the next one, again, anything inside of here could be a 1 or a negative 1. So I'm going to set up the two equations like this. And I'm going to go ahead and solve. So if I subtract 1, 2a is equal to 0. Negative 2, end up a equaling 0, and a could equal negative 1. So the solution set for A is going to be 0 or negative 1. And over here, as I put that down, I have 0 right there and negative 1 right there. Okay, remember we can check these by plugging them in. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, plus 1 is negative 1. So the absolute value of negative 1 is still 1. If I plug in 0, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, absolute value of 1 is still 1. Okay, so again, take your time, double check your answers. I think you should be good. Okay, All right, on the back side, use cross products to determine whether the pair of ratios form a proportion, right? Yes or no. Remember, a proportion is, are they equal, okay? One way to check this, you could divide both these out. If it's the same decimal, it's the same. If you cross multiply, I'll do that. 6 times 14 gives us 84. 21 times 4 gives us 84. Yes, these ratios do form a proportion, equal ratios, okay? When I cross multiply here, remember my preference is for you to go ahead and do this, okay? Because that way we make sure that we don't forget to distribute this to both terms. So 96 plus 8x is equal to 12. 8x, if I subtract 96, gives me negative 84. And then if I go ahead and divide through by 8, what would that be? Negative 10.5. Okay. Now, if I'm not sure, I can add those together. So if I were to do 12 plus 10.5, 12 plus 10.5, divide that by 3, okay, is 7.5. Let's see here. What did I, oh, you know what? I did wrong. It should be 12 plus negative 10.5. And divide that by 3.5, 1/2. What is 4 divided by 8? It's also 1/2, okay? So I'm working through these really quickly, but I hope you understand what I did. I checked it by plugging it back in there, okay? On the next one, number 17, I'm going to add x to both sides, and I'm going to subtract 6. So if I add x to both sides, I get 2x. If I subtract 6, I get negative 2. And if I divide through by 2, my x value ends up being negative 1, okay? So negative 1 plus 6 is 5. Negative 1, we have a negative 1, so that's plus 1. So it is 5, so we're good there, okay? On this one, I'm going to distribute that first. So 5n plus 7 is equal to 7n plus 7 minus 2n, okay? Now, if I take 7n and subtract 2n, combine the like terms, I end up with 5n plus 7 is equal to 5n plus 7. It's the same thing on both sides. Does it matter what number I plug in here and here? No, it's going to be equal every single time. So for number 18, I'm going to put all real numbers. Okay, all real numbers for number 18. Doesn't matter what I plug in. Remember, it's also called the identity property. On to number 19, if I distribute this, I end up with negative 4p minus 8 plus 8. They're going to cancel out. Is equal to 2p minus 2 minus 7p plus 15. Okay. Now over here, I've got negative 4p. Over here, I've got 2p minus 7p, so minus 5p when I bring those two together, plus 13, okay? So if I go ahead and add 5p to both sides, p ends up being a length of 13, okay? Let's see here. If I plug that back in, let's just check this real quick. On the left-hand side, we have 13 plus 2 is 15. Right, 13 plus 2 is 15. 15 times negative 4 plus 8. So negative 52 on the left-hand side. Okay. 13 minus 1 is 12. So 2 times 12 is 24. Minus 7 times 13 plus 15. Negative 52. Okay. So in the end, they're still equal. See that they're equal. And we've done a good job solving that problem there, okay? Now, for the next one, if I want to get x by itself, I'm actually going to start with the c. So we end up having a over b times x is equal to c, okay? Now, if I want to get x by itself, this is multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by a over b. So x will equal c divided by a over b, I know it's kind of hard to read right there, but A over B, okay? Hopefully that makes sense there. And again, I would leave the parentheses. I'm not going to mark you off if you don't put them, but we should probably have the parentheses there. Solve the formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height for the height. Well, if I divide both sides by half base, that should give me the height. So the height is equal to area divided by half of the base. And again, I'm going to put a parenthesis around there. Okay. The next one says this: company ABC earned a profit of what am I doing here? Reading the wrong. $25,500 in 6 months. At this rate, how much profit will company ABC earn in 10 months? So at 6 months, they earned a profit of $25,500. At 10 months, what was their profit? Okay. So if I cross multiply, you get 6x is equal to 255,000. And if I divide through by 6, what would that be? 255,000 divided by 6, 42,500. Okay, so we have that right there. Okay. Now, to finish things off, number 25 says this: a container company wants to make a cylindrical can with a volume of 1,188 cubic inches. The formula, volume equals pi r squared h, represents the volume of the cylinder. In this formula, V represents volume, R represents radius of the cylinder's base, and H represents the height of the cylinder. Solve for H. What height would the company make the can if the radius of the base must be 6 inches? Okay, so we want to solve for the height here. That's a lot of words just to say, hey, solve for H. So if I do this, we have volume equals pi r squared h, and we want to divide by pi r squared. Okay, pi r squared. So the height is equal to the volume, again, these cancel out here, divided by pi radius squared. And I would put a parentheses around that. Okay. Now, to plug this in, okay, what does it say? Solve for h. What height should the company make the can if the radius of the base must be 6 inches? Oh, there's the volume. Gotcha. I was missing the volume. So here I'm going to put pi times radius squared, and the volume is 1,188 cubic inches. So what will the height be? Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and do 1,188 divided by parentheses. You can see that there. Pi times 6 squared. So it looks like approximately, let's see here. It looks like approximately 10.5 inches. Okay, is it inches or cubic inches? Yeah. So again, I had to approximate there, but that's fine. Okay. All right. You can go ahead and work on the bonus problem. I have the answer, and so I'll let you try to figure that out, and I'll give you a bonus point if you can show me the answer at the beginning of the test tomorrow. So I'll leave that with you. I hope that wasn't too fast, folks. Again, if you have questions, come back and talk to me. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.